I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. What's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like, imixwhatilike.org, at I Mix What I Like for all your relevant social media. Again, I'm Jared Ball, happy again to be playing host for this very important conversation I'm excited to have with brother you all know quite well, I'm sure by now. Tef Poe joins us at this moment, activist, artist, currently working with Hands Up United, itself founded in the aftermath of the uprisings in Ferguson, Missouri, and the killing of Michael Brown. Thank you, Tef Poe, for joining us, and again, welcome, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, man. Hopefully y'all can hear me. There's some construction going on outside my building. I don't know if that's picking up.
So let me just say, you can start where you like, but I really wanted to have you on to help us catch up on things in Ferguson initially. Then there's several other things I wanted to talk with you about. Since about 2014, 2015, since 2014 or 2015, and Ferguson becoming known to many of us through the uprisings. Where would you say your community is now? You have a new album out, Black Julian. It's dope, by the way. You also have, sort of on the flip side of that, symbolically at least, you have the re-elected mayor and former employee of Ferguson Police Force, James Knowles, who beat out a Black City Councilwoman, Ella Jones, for the spot. So as we hear what we hear coming out of that area, what do we need to know about Ferguson and the state of your community and it as a broader symbol of resistance beyond that?
Well, I think that one of the main things that a lot of people didn't know that the Ferguson is a caveat of St. Louis as a whole. So in the aftermath of Ferguson, a lot of people from the area began to focus on the city in a more expansive way politically than just the couple blocks of territory that were limited to Black folks via Ferguson, So afterwards, I feel like, there's a certain demographic of people from the age of, I'd say from like 21 to 35. There's a demographic of folks that's deeply politicized in the city, and it's after that, it's folks have been trying to figure out what to do with themselves, and this newfound awakening, in a sense, and this newfound responsibility that they feel to their communities and so forth. So that's been manifesting in different ways, and everybody has a different view of how to manifest that. So some folks have ran for office. You got people like Bruce Franks, who started out as a battle rapper. He got heavily involved in the protests. Now he's a state representative. He's a very radical state representative. He's not a normal state representative whatsoever. Then you have people like Cori Bush. She was a protester. She ran for office and lost by a margin that she could have won by. So she's going to run for Congress now. And she's going to challenge Lacey Clay. We had a Black woman run for mayor. It wasn't successful. We had a few Black candidates run. It wasn't successful. So I say in the aftermath, what I'm seeing also is that the artistic community in St. Louis was really strong pre-Ferguson. And that's where a lot of the activism and the political energy resided prior to people deciding that this was a political moment. There was always politics involved in the art scene. And I think that now that's coming back to flourish because it's going to people going back to doing what they were already doing in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of those examples you laid out, I did want to ask you a couple of things, specifically around electoral politics. A lot of the history of movement involves one of those outlets being electoral politics, and obviously the Democratic Party. And I just want to have you respond to that in light of a couple sentiments. I'm probably taking out of context at least a little bit that I've heard in your lyrics, including on this new album, Black Julian, whether it's, before that, fuck Hillary, or in this latest album, motherfuck the Democrats. And then you also have fuck activists. And then you also have that you are the Bernie Sanders of the rap game. What is all, how would you summarize what all that means and how that might relate to this move of electoral politics? Yeah.
So okay, so I'll go with I'll start with the Hillary first. Um, I'm just not a fan of the Clinton family. You know what I'm saying? And um, it's hard for me to praise a woman and praise a person that has played such a role in the criminalization of black men and black women, um, and has played such a role in the destabilizing of our communities, and played an even more incredible role in the expansion of global imperialism under the American regime. And I think it's interesting the times that we're living in, because if you want to judge the empire and you look at, well, who's suitable to lead this thing? Who was suitable to lead? Who has filled the role of uh, making their life look as if they have the qualifications to be president of the United States? Hillary Clinton probably was the most qualified person to run if you look at it from that lens. If you look at it from of who knows how to run this empire, who's did these jobs. She's been employed by the systems since college. You know, fresh out of college, she was working for these folks. So she was built for this. She was designed for this. She was manufactured for this. Her paper trail would suggest that she would have became president one day. Really with time where it may not happen, and that was almost a guaranteed thing to happen. But aside from that, that's really where my politics are with that. I just can't support. I can't support, covert white supremacy through the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party in general. I'm done with all that. I mean, on a local level, I understand folks running for office. You got to play the game how you got to play the game. You got to fall in where you got to fall in. But on the national level, in terms of what we're seeing now with this presidency, this current presidency, and even the past presidency with Barack Obama, I just don't have no love for the Democratic Party. I think they're out of date. I think they're out of touch. I think that they're the do it for the Vine party, as I call it. They put out all these radical demands, all these radical claims, but when it's time to actually show and prove and stand on those claims, they don't do it. And then they'll tell you that change comes in incremental ways. But then you see the Republicans, before this man can even get comfortable in the seat, he was signing executive orders left and right. He signed 20 executive orders. Like he's just going hand with the executive orders, you feel me? So it's like, the Democrats gonna tell us we gotta wait as if this is 1965. In 2017, the Republicans ain't waiting. So why would I identify with that party? Why would I identify, like what person with common sense would identify with these people? So that's where I'm at with that. And overall, what was the last one? The Bernie Sanders thing.
The whole fuck activists and the Bernie Sanders thing. Yeah.
I said fuck activists, man, for one, because we're getting to the point where we all got to start asking some questions about what's going on, and we all got to pull back and slow down a bit. And I'll just be really real about it. I did not dedicate my life to this moment, get so heavily involved in these times, for us to take the collective power that we have accumulated and give it away to other people. I thought in a political moment like this that we would have learned from some of the mistakes of the civil rights movement, and some of the many insanely huge successes of the civil rights movement at the same time. And I thought that we would have looked at this from a bird's eye view and placed ourselves in a position that was uniquely different than anything that's happened before. And when you look at what was going on in Ferguson, that's the energy that a lot of us thought we were being instrumental in bringing to the forefront. Something different, something that was more challenging, and something that you just couldn't look at with a piece of paper, look at a piece of paper and easily figure it out. It was complicated, and we had some things to weave through. And in these days and times, it feels as if for a lot of us that were on the front lines, a lot of us that are still fighting cases, a lot of us that are in jail, a lot of us that have lost comrades. It just feels as if we've been bamboozled in a sense. We've been manipulated by even our own people that who I believe on a certain level have the greatest intentions. I believe that they're not. I don't believe that these people are snakes and backstabbers. I just believe that they have politics that don't align with mine. They don't politically align with my vision for my life and the lives of people that live like me. So that's where I'm at with it. Where are the activists at right now when we need a contingency plan for the Black murder rate in America? And I'm not just talking about from the police. And I'm not talking about from a respectable, oh, everybody go put their guns up way. Because I keep my gun every day, legalized, completely legalized. But if you walk up on me, it's probably gonna be on me. So like, I'm not saying put your guns up, but what I'm saying is, where is the contingency plan for us to deal with the fact that we're dealing with a legit Black genocide right now in Chicago, St. Louis, Detroit, Arkansas, LA, New York? Like, people are dying, and we have to address the fact that that the beast has armed they have armed our babies. They have supplied our babies with armed weapons, no differently than they have in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And these activists don't got nothing for you until somebody dies on Facebook Live, or it's a meme about somebody that is combustible and explosive. So I don't, and you know, you log on Facebook all day and you see people talking about organizing, and they got all these different, you know, Facebook statuses about what it means to be an activist, what it means to be an organizer, this and that, this and that, this and that, this and that. And I've personally decided to divest from that, because I can't invest in that. And we still got shorties on the block selling crack, young sisters in whorehouses selling their bodies. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because we say Black Lives Matter, but apparently these are the lives that don't. And if we want to affect the system, this is where we plug in immediately. We got to plug in with our own. You can't just consistently go to these folks yelling and asking for stuff when you know where the issue is at. How many people in prison have you written a letter to? Like, how many brothers and sisters behind that wall have you reached out to? So I don't really feel them like that. I don't really feel what they're doing. I don't really feel how they rocking. And you know, like that just motivated that comment.
You know, when you said something about that a lot of activists don't share your vision for the world. And as you were saying that, I was thinking of something I had wanted to ask you about anyway. In a recent article from the legendary writer Greg Tate about Kendrick Lamar's Damn album, he says this line, and I actually thought of you when I first read this. He says, quote, "Let's be perfectly clear. We don't really go to rappers for political coherence, clarity, direction, or instruction. Rather, for the essence of the psychic pressures creating visible schizophrenic fissures on the bland, bubbly surface of everyday American life across the color line. In times like these, even the entertainment stage must occasionally bleed with the passions and roundedness of its best versifying patriots." I'm wondering if any of that resonated with you, if it's something that could convey, me reading it over this call, but specifically to ask you, what is your vision? Is there a particular ism, a popular ism that you go by that is your vision of the world, or what would you like to convey through your music or your more direct political activism?
My vision is just to tell the truth about the situation. You know what I mean? To tell the truth, we got to start with telling the truth, because if we're not going to tell the truth, we're not going to even get to any of the solutions that can counterattack the problem. So that's for one. And for two, I feel very conflicted about the role of rappers in this time. I can get really deep on this subject, man, and it may be the reason that I'm still an independent artist, if I'm telling the truth about it, because my approach to this is just so different than the average rapper. I'm not going to rap about this type of shit and watch y'all get arrested for it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna put the battery in your back to go out there and be like, yeah, this is messed up. You listening to my music, I'm telling you F the police and all this and all that. But then when the shit get real and it get funky, I'm not there locked arms with you. I'm just the cat that wrote the song in the studio. And that's not no shot at nobody, you know what I mean? Like, I love Kendrick album. I listen to it almost every other day. But this is what I viewed this moment as, you know, like there were a lot of MCs that I thought would naturally have shown up for the people because for years they dedicated so much of their content to rapping about this. So when it hit the streets, you don't really see too many of those rap guys in the streets, and you're not going to see them, you know?
I don't know if you're familiar, forgive me for cutting you off. I don't know if you're familiar with Baltimore MC Lab Tech One.
I've heard of him a little bit though.
Yeah, I mean he's you know, my generation, vicious, multi-elemental, talented, brilliant cat. But he had a track a couple years ago where he expressed your same sentiment, where he actually said, basically, it's irresponsible for MCs to encourage young black boys and girls to go out into the street and get themselves hemmed up by this system. But at the same time, I admit people like, you know, I look for that inspiration in the music. But I understand. I think at least I understand that point.
I think we need the music. We need the music. We do. But we're also at a point where we're too far gone for it to just be music. You know what I mean? Like, I can make music all day, but my city got a crazy murder rate. So how many of these shorties am I trying to touch? Where am I placing myself in the community? Where's the access points for me beyond you spending some money to listen to my music and then spending some more money to come to my shows and buy merch? Where's the access point for this to be a legitimate platform beyond just some wordplay? So that's where things get tricky for me, because I don't know that the people necessarily need another rap song about revolution. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that that's something that the people need. Maybe it's something they want and they enjoy it, but I don't necessarily know that they need it. And so that's where, when you ain't got water and you living in Flint, Michigan, and when you still walk outside and see the demolished buildings in Ferguson 2-3 years after the uprising, you really ain't tripping off nobody rap songs for real. And that's where we as artists gotta have to change something. And I think even with the movement and the way that we interact with artists has to become a bit more intentional. Because there's things that I see other artists do that I myself, since I kind of double as an organizer and an activist, I know I wouldn't be able to get away with. But then the movement will embrace these other artists that are more mainstream acceptable with open arms. Oh yeah, he finally said something about Trump. Oh yeah, he did this. Whoop-de-whoop, whoop, whoop. But every other freaking benchmark of being politically incorrect, they get away with. They get away with being sexist. They get away with being homophobic. They get away with being misogynistic. They get away with just not living what they talk whatsoever. But, you know, you want to hold guys like myself to that standard. Meanwhile, I'm fighting court cases by my damn self. You know what I'm saying? There ain't nobody coming in there paying my lawyer fees. So these are the things that frustrate me as an artist. And also, I'm gonna take it a step deeper, because I wasn't going to take it this deep, but I'm gonna take it this deep. The movement is so contradicts itself so much. I expect the general public to not give a damn, because the general public is just taking content. It's just taking whatever pop culture produces and turning it into what it can turn it into. But the movement is hella contradictory when it comes to the art, because, and it's the same thing we do with the White House, so I shouldn't expect us to be any different with hip hop. But we'll take artists that are signed to labels, the same labels that are owned by the same corporations that are producing the means to create the Dow pipeline, the same record labels, God bless Chief Keef. I love Chief Keef because I feel that he's more free than a lot of these other artists. He got the deal from those white boys, took that money and ran. They couldn't control him, so they got mad and vilified him. But if we're going according to the mainstream media narrative, they would paint this man as a savage beast, one of the main components of people dying in Chicago, right? But then they'll turn right around and give you a super exuberant conscious artist. So both these guys getting a paycheck from the same source. You feel me? So like, how can I vilify him and then uplift the other brother when they both taking blood money? So, and then on top of that, the brother that we perceive to be taken to be the real evil one in this situation is actually the one that's more free, because he ain't doing what they say do. So like, I just look at it differently. I see it differently. They're gonna give you your Nas, they're gonna give you your Jay-Z, they're gonna give you your Snoop, they're gonna give you each person that they need to fill those positions in that system. And that system just reduplicates itself. So now it's time for newer, younger, fresher versions of those people that haven't been ran through the process. You ain't got 12 albums from this guy yet talking about these issues. So over the course of the next couple of years, you'll get that. And there'll be that only artist that fills that slot, because we can control that artist. We can control the flow of content off that artist. We making a gang of money off that artist. And the combustible nature of the politics of that time are going to be used as the publicity and the PR for that artist. So every time that there's, Trump tripping, time for a Kendrick album. You know what I'm saying? It's gang banging in Chicago. It's heavy out here. See if we can get this Chief Keef album right quick. You know what I'm saying? So like, they're going to use the times of where we're at socially to create music and create product to put out to match those times. Now, I don't take nothing away from the MCs for doing that, because these MCs come from the slums. So they got to get theirs how they got to get theirs. And this is something they've been wanting to do their whole life. So I understand the mind frame of where they're coming from. You either do this or be trapped in your situation. You're going to make the music. So I get it. But what I'm saying is, us as the entity that says we dictate the body of Black politics in this country right now, we're just a little bit too laxed. We don't challenge these corporations to even make them put these artists in a real situation that can help us all collectively. So like, it's just jargon after a certain point, for real.
Yeah, you did say a lot there. Now there's there's a lot that just don't have time to keep going. I really appreciate what you were saying though, and I will say this, that I fully appreciate and have approached this in my own limited way, the same way that my criticism's almost never of the individual artist or even political figure, but more the structures that are encouraging this behavior, these decisions. Because when you start picking on people, it becomes too personal, it's too easy, and then as you said, it's too easy for somebody to say, well, I mentioned, I hated on Trump in that last track, so don't be so mad if I'm smacking this woman in this track, or whatever. So I appreciate your point. Somewhat similarly, though, I did want to, on your new album, to the extent I understand everything, I may not even understand it, but talk to me about Asada.
Yeah, man. So I wrote that song. It took me 2 years to finish this album, and I probably wrote that song earlier than that. But so I try to make music sometimes that politically charged music with political themes that these kids that are doing these dances and looking up stuff on YouTube, and I look at artists like Montana 300, and I look at your Lupe Fiascos, I look at your Gucci Mans, I look at your Lil Waynes, I look at everything, I listen to everything. Coming from St. Louis, I don't really have a regional preference. So everything comes across where we at. So I'm influenced by all of that stuff sonically to a certain extent. So when I made Asada, I think the producer told me he actually submitted that beat to Future. I was like, man, let me hear it. So I checked it out, and I was like, okay, I see what I can do with this, man. And I was like, all right, it's a Future track. I could hear him on this. But what if I did something different? What if I went this way with it? And try to give him some jewels on that type of production. So I like to make music where I uplift women as soldiers more so than trophies, So there's a lot of narrative about Asada and today's movement. And I've talked to a couple elders that know her. and they've expressed that she isn't really the happiest with the way that the movement has exemplified her. It's made her living situation a lot harder. She's in hiding, even more so now since Trump was in office, but she was in hiding even before he got in office because of the explosion of the energy around her name concerning this current movement.
And also, to your previous point, under a black president and a black attorney general and announced by a black FBI agent, they upped the bounty on her.
They upped the bounty. This was black folks, man. And I'm gonna push pause on that. It's funny how we have a movement that's modeled after uplifting the most marginalized folks. It's modeled after so many undertones of black feminism and black queer uplifting this and uplifting that. But if we want to be real, God bless the brother, this is not a personal attack. This is a political thing. Barack Obama is the exact opposite of all that.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the male, he's patriarchal. Like like everything that we claim to be against, he embodies on a certain level. But the attacks are so delicate, that like the criticisms are so delicate, the embrace is so warm. But you got a brother off the street, fresh out the prison, with the same exact damn politics, and we won't even let him in the meeting, you know? So I be finding that type of shit to be wild. You know, like, this brother ain't drawn nobody, you know what I mean? Like, this man got blood on his hands, and we still cool with that. We cool with it, that the fact he got blood on his hands, and the fact that his politics are directly contradicting ours. Like, so I don't even know where the point of support is. I don't even know how to inject my support beyond the fact that he's a black man.
I mean, his response to what happened in your city was to give $20 million to the police. And and then the percentage reports are now showing that the percentage of wealth going to the 1% has escalated under his presidency. Just to add that in there.
Oh, definitely. And then if you look at black economics suffered terribly under Barack, man. So we don't talk about that shit at all. And that's it. We suffered under levels that can be compared to Reagan under Barack.
Yeah,
economically. But so what I'm saying, I forgot what the question was.
The question was initially about Asada, and I'll bring you back to your point by asking, did you really lose male friends by saying that God is a woman?
Oh, yeah, I lost male fans, period, G. People wrote me letters. A lot of brothers is like, yo, I ain't rocking with Poe no more. Whatever, you know. But when I wrote that song, man, I try to write records that the sisters can feel just as empowered as we feel. You know, like when the women listen to revolutionary music, they don't want to sound like they just at home cutting apples and and, you know, folding clothes. Because the real of it is they on the line more than a lot of brothers. Most of our comrades are women. You know, you'd be hard pressed to find real male comrades in this thing. So like, just having that understanding, knowing that that's really the demographic of people I'm talking to, I know that I got to make records that they're going to feel and records that they can relate to as well. And I mean, I got Asada's name tatted on my back, man. I did that for one, to uplift her, because if I can make a song about Stokely or Malcolm or whoever, then I should be able to make a record about her. And then also to create moments like this for the conversation, you know, to talk about the fact that, you know, the Shakur family, period, is the royal bloodline in Black liberation. And they just deserve all the respect that we can give them.
By the way, before I forget, you know, because one of the things I did want to bring up with you, and we've sort of already covered it, is where do we go now with activism? I do want to invite you to at least check out and consider joining the People's Congress of Resistance.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the People's Congress.
Yeah, you know, and anyone watching this video, your fans, anyone else watching this, I would encourage them to check it out too at congressofresistance.org. It's a way of, I think, bringing people together on a practical, somewhat relatively easy level, and to raise some serious questions about what would electoral politics look like if it was really run for and by the people. So.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe we can get you out to D.C. in September to that conference. And then plus, because one of the things I wanted to bring up with you, as I do with all artists I end up talking to, is that if you haven't already begun building on this level at some point, when you do come to DC again, it would be great to get you to rock with some of the go-go bands out this way, because
Done
the
that, yeah.
pocket needs that level of lyricism too.
I would love to, man. I would love to.
So anyway, okay. So just a couple other things I wanted to run past you, and I am actually I'm gonna see if I can work on that a little bit. Bring that back. Bring that. A couple other light questions I did want to ask you real quick. Who is on your bucket list to perform with or work with politically or artistically?
I mean, artistically, in terms of hip hop, Kendrick is at the top of the game, man. Like the stuff he's doing he's taking it there creatively. So I respect that a lot. Of course, who don't want to work with Nas? You know what I mean? It's Nas, man. I mean, who don't? You know. And really, I'll work with anybody for real. Because I'm hugely into showing people that just because we walk a political line as artists don't mean we can't make functioning music. So that's really my aim with this thing, man. It's like I don't want to be in the political caveat. I don't want to be, oh, this is my political music. I only listen to this when I go to the rally. I only listen to this when I go to this. Because then I'm not really doing my job. It's not effective. You know what I mean? Like Bob Marley was a total revolutionary every day, all day. But that brother made jams and he sold records and he used that to do what he had to do. And that's kind of the vision I got for myself pertaining to the city of St. Louis is even moving forward, some of the records I feel that I'm going to make they may be more risque than what some of my fan base is knowing me for. But the goal of that is to pull more people in so that I'm not constantly talking to the same people and constantly bouncing ideas solely off my political base. Because if we don't have people who go in there and get these brothers out the belly of the beast the same way that Dead Prez did me when I heard them for the first time, the same way that Tupac did me when I heard him for the first time, like then we're failing. So I can't continue just to talk about people that talk to people that understand the isms and the schisms and the mechanisms. I got to actually go get these pockets of cadre that are out there. They listen to this music, they understand it, but they still looking for something that hits them in the head and goes, this is it. Because every cat out there isn't a Kendrick fan. Everybody isn't a J. Cole fan. You know, some people are looking for something that's a little bit more edgier, a little bit more hard body, but still aligned with the same type of sonic influences. So that's the pocket that I'm trying to just bust open. In the activism side of things, man, everything that our org does, Hands Up United, we're a Black Panther inspired organization. And not only that, we're a hip hop organization as well. So a lot of our stuff has a hip hop sway to it. We're not going to always be politically correct. We're not going to always hit you with the statistics, because for the most part, we are the statistics. So one of our directors used to sell crack prior to Ferguson. I mean, he went to the White House, met Barack Obama. He probably still had the residue on his damn hands. So this is reality we dealing with. You know what I mean? So it's like our organization is a little bit more risque than the current average Black youth organization, so to speak. So we kind of we fit into a weird peg, but we're going to keep expanding. The programs are doing really good. We got the books and the breakfast going on. It's 2 times a month in St. Louis now. Over 20,000 books have been distributed, 15,000 meals. We got a book drive going on. We need more book donations. We got the tech program about to pop back off. We sent through 3 classes of Black technologists. We got the food and the clothing pantry where people donate us groceries, donate us clothes, and we give them right back to people in the neighborhood. We had a real funny story. We ended up getting like a bunch of donations from Vans Clothing, the clothing line.
Oh yeah.
We took them right out there, man, and gave that stuff to the people, right? And it was wild because if you didn't know no better, you pull up in the hood. You're like, why is everybody wearing brand new Vans today, right? I'm talking about people had the T-shirts, people had the glasses, belts. It was crazy. But for me, that's the type of stuff I want to do. I want to go into these people's house, take their resources, and just walk right back into the ghetto and say, look, y'all, just have at it. You know what I'm saying? And if we can do that and continue to do that on a mass level, then we'll change the conversation drastically. But our programs are designed to address the fact that Black people ain't got shit. So, like, if you are trying to talk to me about voting, but you ain't addressing the fact that I work at rallies, how does that work? So, like, the conversations that we're having aren't advanced enough. But we think they're very advanced because we know how to use all the 6-letter words, and we know how to, sound like we just wrote a syllabus when we talk about it. But it's not advanced in terms of actually having practicality to help people's lives. And that's where I feel that we got to do a better job at it. We can't continue to just ignore the overall conditions of our people. And that's where we're losing, because we want to talk about politics. But people are really dealing with some stuff right now, man. And if we don't inject ourselves in the midst of that, then we're going to fail. And that's where the Panthers did a great job. Panthers did an astounding job of doing that. Also, the Nation of Islam, they get a lot of critiques, but at its peak, that's what the nation did. They met people where they were at, and they embraced them. And they said, this is what we know, and this is what you can know if you roll with us. This is what you can look like if you roll with us. They gave people examples. We got to get back to the point where we're giving people examples. Tupac, he gave people examples. He was an example for a lot of people. That's why people love him so much. He was an example of the possibilities for them. Wow, I can become that and still believe this. I can become that and still say this. I can become that and still feel like this. So we got to get to that point. And I think even in hip hop, that's the problem. We might have some great jamming music. We have some of the best music coming out that we've ever had in a long time. But these people aren't necessarily physical examples for folks outside of rapping. So everybody aspires to be a rapper because that's the example. But the rapper can also be the revolutionary. The rapper can also be the preacher. The rapper can be the doctor. The rapper can be the lawyer. And that's what we're trying to show folks.
Well, Tef Poe, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to join us for this conversation. I see you all have a Friday Night Flicks event on Get Out tomorrow. I look forward to hearing about that. And please feel free to include some of the conversations we've had as you all check that out. We had some powerful conversations that might supplement the ones you're having. But I'll be looking to build with you going forward. Again, thank you very much for joining us, Tef Poe.
Love, man. Thanks for always reaching out.
And as always, to you, we say peace if you're willing to fight for it, as Fred Hampton used to say. So peace, everybody, and we'll catch you in the whirlwind. Tef Poe, thanks again, my man. I mix what I like.